This podcast was recorded on location from the Jobber booth at the TCI Expo 2019 in Pittsburgh. My guests for this podcast are Rudy and Maurice from Petzl America. I get to ask Rudy and Maurice what their roles are within Petzl America and a little bit of a background on themselves. I also get to ask them Petzl's response to a huge opinion from the ARB community regarding the chicane and the fact that a lot of people feel that the idea was taken and copied from the rope wrench, and what the response of Petzl is. So thank you very much for giving up some time at the TCI Expo, which is always crazy busy, and especially for the guys at Petzl. So really appreciate their time, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you. This podcast is brought to you by Westspur Tree Equipment. Westspur Tree Equipment is an arborist supply store that pretty much has anything you would ever want as a tree climber. If you're wanting a new harness, new ropes, new spurs, new rigging gear, rigging block, different hardware, carabiners, micro pulleys, slings, all of that good stuff, all of that nice, shiny, brand spanking new equipment that you want to buy. Especially after listening to the podcast and, getting a bit of an itch for some new gear, head over to westspur.com/pod, that's POD, and use the promo code DAN, DAN, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. So go over to westspur.com/pod, POD, and use the promo code DAN. to get 10% off your entire order. And if you go over to Westspur, or if you want some advice, give Westspur a call. Speak to nice guy Dave. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to tree climbing equipment. He's been in the industry for years. He manages to get his hands on all new types of equipment that just comes out and gives it all a trial run. So he has a great wealth of knowledge when it comes to tree climbing equipment. So once again, that's westspur.com/pod and use the promo code DAN. This podcast is also sponsored by Jobber Business Software. Jobber is an online business software that can be implemented into any style of business, but it works especially well for arborist companies. I use it in my own business, and it has made such a huge difference. I own and run quite a small tree company, so I didn't know that it would be that much help and like how much more time it's going to save me on the admin side, because I didn't feel like I had a lot. But as soon as I started implementing it, it saves me so much time just from doing quotes on the app out on site when I'm actually on the property, to then being able to invoice as soon as I get in my truck from completing a job. It means that I don't forget to send invoices, which I have been guilty of in the past and probably lost quite a lot of money from. It also lets you manage your crews, so all of your crew can have the app on their phone, and once that person is selected for a specific job on the desktop version, that person, once they open their app, will see the job, will see all the details, will see the client's information, and it can be restricted also on how much detail they see if you don't want them to see the cost of the job, all that kind of stuff. It's very versatile, and it's absolutely amazing software, and it's really changed the way that I run my business. It's just made everything just so much easier. So if you want to try out Jobber, then the best thing to do is go to the website, climbingarborist.com, and you'll see the link, the image for Jobber across the top of the page. If you click on that link, what that will get you is a 14-day free trial, but it'll also get you 20% off your first 6 months subscription. So go to the climbingarborist.com website, click on the Jobber banner, and you'll get 14-day free trial, and you'll also get 6 months subscription at 20% discount. I can't say enough about Jobber. It's been absolutely fantastic for me using it so far, and I couldn't imagine going back to the Stone Age way that I was running my business before.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
how it should be.
You guys hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
You sound great.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, thanks for joining me, guys.
I'm here with Rudy Rootmiller from Petzl and Maurice
Pilot.
Pilot.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
I'm not going to remember that, so
it's okay.
I'll keep asking you.
Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
So we're at the TCIA, and firstly, Rudy, just tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do for Petzl, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So I am our Eastern sales manager on the professional side of the business, and I kind of claim myself as the in-house arborist as well. So I've been an ISA certified arborist going on 6 years now, so past my 5-year mark. So still relatively new to the industry. I guess if you count school before that, it's another 4 years. Got a forestry degree from Virginia Tech. But I've been in the industry for 5-9 years, depending on how you count it, and really love the arboriculture industry. But for Petzl, we're in the professional side. We're in a whole bunch of different markets. So we do like tower climbing, some tactical stuff, some theatrical rigging. But near and dear to my heart is arboriculture for sure. So happy to be here.
Perfect. And a bit of background on yourself, Maurice.
Okay, so I'm an arborist for it's my 31st year in the field, so I got quite a bit of experience there, and I've been doing a lot of training. So I've been a trainer for at least 18 years, and I have a small company that does training for arborist work in general, so rescue and rigging and stuff like that. So, and I'm a rep for Petzl for Western Quebec in Canada.
Okay, so you
I'm a rep.
you live and work in Quebec?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm near Montreal area.
Okay. And how long have you been a rep for Petzl?
It's my 2nd year, but I've been involved with Petzl for about maybe more than 6 years. I've been working on an R&D project and stuff like that for them, testing all their products, field tests mainly, and then helping them with some designs and stuff like that. So
Maurice is one of our special weapons. Whenever we need a field expert, we go to Maurice, and so we can thank Maurice for some of the products we've come out with.
Nice. And so you have all the top secrets.
yeah,
that
that I cannot
you've
speak
got to
of.
keep your lips
Or
zipped
sealed,
shut.
yeah.
Yeah, nice. And how tough is that?
To unseal it?
Yeah.
To keep 'em sealed.
it
Oh, okay,
sealed.
yeah. Well, it is really tough because I'm really passionate what I do, and I can see all the benefits of the new products that we come out. I can see them. I see them about between 2.5 and 3 years, before it's out in the market. So I have to keep all that secret, and I have to work with the device to be able to test them. So it's kind of a hard thing to do and not be out on social media and stuff like that. So I don't have a Facebook, I don't have any Instagram and nothing of that. So and that part, it's easy for me not to show too much of this stuff, but I got to be careful,
I presume you have to be, when you're testing the products, you have to be quite ruthless in your feedback.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's never going to be a great product.
And the objective is really to test them, in real application.
Yeah.
So in a way, you got to be, doing real stuff with it.
Yes. So Maurice has the dream job, right? So he's doing production arboriculture a handful of days out of the week, doing some rep stuff, doing some training as well. So he gets a good blend of still being in the field after 30 years and getting to put gear through the ringer.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get to break stuff, and so it's pretty good.
Nice. So I don't know which one of you will want to answer this question, but I'm going to chuck it out there because it's one that a lot of people listening will want to know. Obviously, you came out with the Chicane, and in my opinion, and probably most people's, the idea has come from the rope wrench.
Yeah.
What's kind of your response, or like Petzl as a company's response? Because you obviously hear it all the time. That's ripped off the rope wrench. All that kind of stuff. How do you respond to those things? Because obviously the idea, it's not rocket science. The idea came from the rope wrench, but Petzl have incorporated it as part of a system.
I'm happy to take this one, Maurice. So we listened to the market, right? So people came out with the Zigzag. Everybody was saying the Zigzag's awesome. I want to use it in an SRT or a stationary rope system application. But Petzl doesn't allow it, so guys were using the rope wrench. It works, right? But Petzl couldn't validate that. So a lot of what Petzl does is risk management, right? So number one, we make great products that are safe. And so we couldn't say that you could use a Zigzag in a stationary rope solution until we came out with the Chicane. So I like saying that first because we try to listen to the market. It would have been awesome, in my opinion, if Petzl came out with a completely unique device. But what we did, we added friction. We solved the problem because you got to add friction to the device to make it work in a stationary system. We did that. We tweaked it. We, created the handle on the chicane, the carabiner insertion point. The bollards are different. So it's a unique product. Yeah, it is similar, definitely. But we have the patent for it and create a product that is intended 100% and only to be used with the Zigzag. And the response has actually been really great. I know this time last year at TCI, we were saying, how much hate are we going to get for this looking like the rope wrench? And our job is to sell what products come down the pipeline, right? So we stand by our products. Maurice tested the products, thinks it's a fantastic device. It works well. Like I said, it's completely intended for the Zigzag.
Yeah, only compatible with that, and Petzl's not claiming that they invented this system.
Yep.
It's really been invented by Kevin. But
and so I'm glad that you say that and you recognize that, because if Petzl were to come out and say, we came up with this idea, it's all our idea, like, everybody is going to call bullshit on it, because it's
completely,
it's obviously the idea has come from the rope wrench. It's the way to add friction so you can move up and down from ascent to descent. It was an amazing tool, and it's changed the industry. And
so if you think about product development, right, only every once in a while you come out with a completely new and innovative, never seen before under the sun product, right?
Yeah.
And other than that, you take something in it and it improves, right?
Yeah.
So you take a regular carabiner and then you make it into an H-frame carabiner, and that's a step, and that's a step, and that's a step. And I think the conversation is so touchy around it because the rope wrench was so cool and unique, and Petzl was the next one to improve upon it. We were just taking a step to make it completely compatible for the Zigzag specifically.
And that's really the key. It's compatible with the Zigzag. So if you look at the way, there's certain subtlety of the device that really makes it only compatible with the Zigzag.
Yeah.
So it's not really it's not competing the rope wrench at all, because the rope wrench is not supposed to be used onto the Zigzag.
Yeah.
So if you look at a marketplace, it's just beside it.
You just tilt that microphone up towards, like, so.
Okay, thanks. So they're supposed to be once on each side of the device, so it's one's for the Zigzag and one's for knots. So you're not competing together.
Yeah.
So I know it's been seen like maybe a rope wrench skiller or stuff like that, but it's not at all. It's only for our device, and it's not our say to what's going to be used on our device, because we didn't test it. So it's really important for us to have our device compatible with ours. And the thing is that liability on using a Zigzag with a rope wrench without us testing it, it can be.
So for example, our after sales departments, we don't get many returns. Our returns on all of our product lines are actually quite low, which is neat. But we are seeing a lot of Zigzags come back to our after sales department, and you can tell by the inspection point that this was being used in a single rope system before the chicane.
Yeah.
And so we would get that actually quite a bit. And we say that's not under warranty. You're not using it as it's intended to via the technical notice.
And you could tell that by, like, the excessive wear points?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, underneath the Zigzag on the bottom part.
Yeah, on the levers.
So have you has Petzl done like some kind of like side-by-side comparison to see if the chicane or the rope wrench adds in more friction than the other?
The thing is that the lever on the rope wrench is not the same as on the chicane, so it's more compatible on the release of that on the chain. So a knot will release much higher. For most knots, like a VT or something like that, will release, and much higher. So it needs that focal point to bend to be able to engage that friction there. So the chain doesn't have that much release. So you need to have that good release, that good leverage, that distance between the baller and the access point of pivoting. So that's where the compatibility is really on both systems.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You started us with a hard question.
Yeah. Thanks for it. Yeah.
And then the thing what I want to add is that if you look at the fixed pulley, so now there's a lot of pulleys in the market that are fixed, but the pulley was actually they can claim what they want, but it's a copy, or it's not I wouldn't say a knockoff, but it was kind of a copy of the same pulley. that's on the market. But it's still all the same base, the same idea.
You take any product category, you're talking about helmets and a bunch of knockoff helmets.
I think probably the main point of why people feel so strongly in this case is that one, it was an amazing idea and invention by Kevin.
Yeah.
Two, it was one individual person that came along, tinkered around and invented the device himself. It wasn't like a whole huge company to invent it. So it's like the masses are behind that individual person who was the inventor, the creator, the breeder of new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why opinion is so strong in this case compared to other companies copying other large companies products.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to acknowledge that Kevin is a complete genius, and he's brilliant.
Definitely.
And has done an incredible amount for the industry. I respect Kevin. I like Kevin. I think everybody at Petzl respects and likes Kevin. But when you come to manufacturing in France, in a whole different country, right? I think it's a little different, and I don't think the two dots were connected, right? I don't think the manufacturer and the R&D folks were saying, "Oh, let's partner with Kevin to make this happen." Like that happens in North America, right? But culturally, there is a difference there, and I just want to say that like we respect Kevin a lot. And after we brought out the Chicane, there was connection there between Petzl France manufacturing
and Kevin
and Kevin directly, and they had some conversations, and we did address Kevin directly. So. That's kind of where we are with it.
And what I want to go through is that all these items that comes in the market becomes the standard. So if you look at the Edge Climber, it is the standard now. So for us to modify the Zigzag, have another connection point on it, it becomes a standard. So it can be looked as a copy, but it's just a standard. So if you don't get it in the market, it's worrying. So it's the same thing with the Chicane. It's the standard. So if you want to use a SRS system or a stationary rope technique, we need to add friction into our device. And we always said that from the get-go. If you look at the earliest technical notice, it was able to use the Zigzag on a stationary rope way, but we were saying always just to add friction. And so it's only adding friction. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
and making the Chicane really compatible with the Zigzag.
Yeah. Awesome. I think this one's a question for you. And at the Petzl Symposium, you kind of answered this to the group of people. But another common question that wants to be asked to Petzl is about the carabiner being choked off on a spar that's in the instructions, and I know that's quite a big thing. So you kind of give your take on the instruction manual and
So what Petzl's going to say is they're going to say that we're not supposed to side load a carabiner. So that's not changed at all. So it's up to the user to be able to tell if their carabiner is side loading onto the spar. So if you have a big spar, it's not an issue, because when you look at the carabiner, how it's loaded in the major axis. It's not an issue. So if you but if you go in other tech notice, like on the Zillion tech notice, you'll see that it's really important to have a certain diameter to be able to choke on. So it's really the end user to be able to say, am I side loading my carabiner or I'm not side loading my carabiner? So if you're not side loading my carabiner, it's not an issue. So if you look at tying off a spar, so if you do a running bowline, so most of the guys will do that, do a running bowline and choke on the spar. So if you look at that, I can easily say that that's going to bring your strength of your rope 50% lower. But if you do it with a carabiner, it's not the carabiner's going to break. The rope's going to break way before the carabiner, even if it's side loaded a bit. So it's not really the weakest link. Is it the best way to do it? I wouldn't say it's the best way, but it's more practical. It's just easy. Let's say you're climbing up a spar and you want to pass branches. It's much easier to, instead of undoing a knot, just unclip a carabiner and going up.
Yeah.
So it's a practical way, but it's not. Is it the best way? It depends on the user.
Yeah.
It's all that, and it's not in Petzl to say to end user what they're going to do and what's more, better for them in their situation. We just say that our device is made for this, be used this way, and that's it. And then the end user has to by itself tell himself, is it secure the way I'm going to use this device? And if it is for him, well, he's welcome to do it.
Yeah, the carabiner being choked on a spar is just an example, right? Petzl's not saying this is how you do it. In Petzl, we are really good at telling the end user or the safety directors, whoever, how to use our products in the correct way, in the wrong way. And we say everything in the middle. We're not going to tell you how to do your job. That's what Maurice can help you outside of Petzl as a trainer. He can give you suggestions on how to accomplish the job objective. But the spar is just an example. It's not, this is how you must do it.
But obviously Petzl feel confident enough that they can use that as an example and it's going to be safe. And to your point, Maurice, about tying a knot, if you tie a knot and don't use a carabiner, the knot is actually obviously weakens the rope and then would become most likely weaker than even like a kind of a side-loaded carabiner anyway.
Well, I think it would break faster. Yeah. The thing is that if you do a running bowline and you pull on it, it'll be weaker than just a bowline. A bowline you get between 75% to 80, even up to 80% strength on a bowline. A lot of documentation will say 50%, but when you really test it, it can get easily 70%. But if you do a running bowline and you pull on it, you'll get much lower than 70%.
Yeah.
So I've tested this myself, so that's what I said. I could break a bit of stuff there, so I did a lot of tests myself. And if you get on anything that's bigger than 10 inch, the rope is going to break way before the carabiner.
Yeah.
And below 10 inch, up to 4 inch, the carabiner is going to side load and bend a bit, and it's still going to break the rope before. So it's always the rope is going to be the weakest link into that type of scenario. So, but it's really up to the end user. To look at how he's going to anchor on a spar and say to himself, am I side loading carabiner? If I am, this is not a good technique. If I'm not, everything's okay.
And it is for, I suppose the problem comes like to you and I as an experienced arborist, you would know that's not the best way, and it's not
the best way.
Yeah.
Depending on who's doing it.
Yeah, so we would probably do something different, but it's a quick way. So for like quick changeovers, ascents, that kind of stuff, it is a good method to use for quick connection.
Yeah, so I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably do it again.
Yeah.
Am I doing it always? It's all depending on the situation. And it can be in a situation the way I see it can be not good. But for somebody else doing it the same way, it looked at it and say it's good. So it's up to him. It's really up to him. He's the user. He's the end user.
Yep.
So we'll in the tech notice we'll say what's not to be done and what's meant to be done, and then after that, everything else is your responsibility. You have to take that responsibility. And that's the same thing for every manufacturer. It's going to put something out there. So most of the manufacturer doesn't have the broader products we have. Yeah. So we have a lot of products. So we have a lot of involvement in work at height. So if you look at like other manufacturers has less product, so maybe they have less issues with some of those. But so I think that's really up to them to take responsibility. So I do stuff in my own practice that Petzl wouldn't recommend me doing it. But if I do it, I check everything out. Is it safe for me? But my experience, what I know and my knowledge. And then I do it. But I wouldn't go back to Petzl and say, well, you showed me this in your tech notice, and then I do this and do that. Yeah. It's on to me.
Yeah, Petzl doesn't validate techniques. We have a few in our tech tips that we show. Yep. These are some examples that Petzl's cool with, and this is the way you can use this piece of gear. But like Maurice said, Maurice has all sorts of tips and tricks.
Yeah,
that work really well for him. But he knows the forces that he's working with. Yeah. He knows the tree species. He knows all that. So he takes the risk onto himself, which he's comfortable with doing.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, everybody knows, but working in the tree industry, every single job is different. So you have to adapt.
Yeah.
Each day you go to work, and sometimes some techniques are called for. And as long as you do the risk assessment and you're being safe, then there's so many techniques. So for, like you say, somebody for Petzl to come out and approve all these techniques, they're equipment manufacturers, so that's what they're involved with. And even, I suppose, even this question that I've just brought up to you, maybe even puts Petzl off from putting small things like that out, because they're like, oh, we're getting so many questions about this one simple
Yeah.
There's a whole
technique.
pillar of Petzl that we want to share information.
Yeah.
Right. So we say products and solutions.
Yeah.
So we try and give some examples of solutions for certain scenarios and certain job sites.
Yeah.
So those are vetted. Those are super vetted, right? And they, the French team, there's a whole team who draws those technical notices, and this group checks it, and then they throw it over to North America, and then they check it. This specific one with the carabiner, was it the best technical tip we ever came out with? No, definitely not, right?
Yeah.
And if they didn't put it out, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it does spur conversation, right?
Yeah.
And it does say, well, is the end user seeing if the carabiner is side-loaded or not, and get the end user thinking about what
It's,
what they're doing
it's
with it.
definitely been good to spark the conversation, because even listening to Maurice kind of talk and explain, what's going on, it kind of it sinks into people more than just saying, "Oh, that's wrong." But a lot of people just think it's wrong because they've seen other people say it's wrong, but nobody then goes into more detail. So I appreciate it.
Because it's always the same thing. It's like it's more like a culture thing in arboriculture that somebody somewhere that was placed in a position to be heard and said you cannot do this, and from that it's like they associate everything with that, but it's not really the truth. So I'm sure that in Europe there's no issues with that at all.
Yeah.
But here in North America, there's a big issue with that. But I would say it's not a big issue. It's just something that's talked about. But to me, it's I've seen stuff that's been done in the industry that people claim that it's really really safe, and it's terrifying for me. So it's
You don't rig from a bucket truck? You don't rig off the wheel?
no, but still. So it's really I would say do your own assessment, your risk management, and all that. And if it fits for you, take your risk and take your responsibility of it.
So earlier this year, Petzl hosted like an arborist symposium. It's the first one they did, and it was like invite only. So you invited, 60 people or so.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 50, and then it got up to 60, and it ended at 67, something like that.
We opened the floodgates there at the end.
Yeah.
We said, come on.
And so you obviously invited certain people for various reasons, but describe what the idea behind the symposium was, and what Petzl's thoughts were after it had happened, and if you plan to do something similar in the future, and kind of what Petzl's takeaway was from the symposium.
Definitely. Well, I think overwhelmingly it was a success. We gave a little survey at the end, and everybody said, yes, please do more of these. It's really nice for the community to come together outside of a competition scenario. So that was one of the main goals. It was we want a meeting of the minds, right? We want people, we want safety directors, we want really killer influences who are badass at doing tree work, and we want some people who are influential and just love gear and are gear nerds to come and see all these new things that Petzl are taking out and just spur some conversation. So it was really that meeting of the minds that generated the whole thing, and then from there we said, well, what do we want to do here? We want to educate about some new techniques, and that's why we brought Maurice in and did an absolutely killer job. We want to do some education on some new products, give you guys some swag. That was that's how it originated, which was pretty cool. And afterwards, we learned a lot, right? So it was interesting because we do the rope trip, which is a rope access event, but that is a competition, right? So we strictly said we don't want to have competition. How can we do this? We have limited resources. We have a budget, right? Tree care is totally a focus of Petzl's. So we want to bring the community together. That's another one of these Petzl pillars I keep talking about, is bringing the community together. So sharing information, bringing the community together, product excellence and quality. There's all sorts of pieces of the Petzl puzzle. And gathering everybody in the same community, it was just gathering community is what it was. Maurice, what do you think? After the event, what did you think?
I thought it was a really great event because we had a lot of people that showed up, and great people too. And then we got a good platform to expose our device and say what really our device is, and not just let it the industry say what they want about the device, how to work it and what's the importance of it and all that. So that part of it was really my part that I like the most of it.
Yeah, because it was just after the launch of the Chicane came out. Yeah, so that was kind of a big focus as well.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be fun too, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to have fun and show our facilities in Salt Lake and see how and
which are absolutely incredible, by the way.
Yeah, and people can see that how focused Petzl is on end users.
Yep.
So we're a company that's manufactures stuff, but it's really focused on the end user. It's really there. All the efforts is going through there. It's building a brand, but it's really for the people. So safety is really a big issue with Petzl, and I've seen that. I went to France and everything. I can see how people are focused on safety issues and stuff like that. So that was a big part of it too.
Yeah, and as somebody who attended the symposium, I took a lot away from it. Just the networking aspect, the learning about the Chicane and plus other gear, picking up some tips from yourself, Maurice, and also from Ryan Torchicola out in the field day, and then getting to just spend a few days at the facility, which is absolutely incredible. There's a lot of effort gone into the design of the building and down in Salt Lake. It was a very worthwhile event putting on, and hopefully there'll be more in the future.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Right, with so many different markets, we have to focus here one year and go to a different market the next year typically.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's certainly one of my objectives is to have one. It won't be in 2020. I hope to have one in 2021. We'll see how it goes.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about this new rope that's just launched at the TCI.
Yeah, the flow and.
Well, Maurice, this is your shot here. You've had this in secret for a while, so take it away.
Yeah.
So
all this testing with tight lips.
Yeah. So I've been using that rope for about 2 years and a half now, and it's what I find is really good about that rope. It's the way that the sheet doesn't slip on the core. So that and it may look like a simple thing, but it creates that rope that's really compatible with the zigzag. So it enables it to keep its shape and keep it round, so it doesn't flatten up and it doesn't come hard. It comes really, really hard because the sheet is always slipping on the core and the rope doesn't come hard. So it's really, really compatible in that sense. So it's polyester on polyester, and then one of the great feature of it is that we'll have a splice that's going to go through the zigzag, so you'll be able to pass the splice through the zigzag at the end. You don't have to run it through the tail end of your rope. So
would you say it keeps its roundness in all mechanical devices?
Yeah, I think it would work in all because the thing is that because the sheet doesn't slip on the core, it'll maintain its shape really. Is flexibility mostly, so it can maybe flatten when you pass the zigzag through. Once you work with the rope, it's going to retain and come back to its original shape and stay round. So that's one of the what I thought it was one of the best benefit was that, and it's really the knotability of it. It's like amazing. It's really easy to do knots into it, so it's really really good.
So we're talking about the flow and the control.
Yeah,
those are the names of the two ropes. So the flow is
which, in my opinion, I don't want to say it sound too negative, but those names are very.
Yeah.
Euro?
Not too exciting, are they?
Okay, well.
Well, that's what they're called. So the flow is 11.6 millimeter, and the control is a half inch, 12.5. And Maurice, have you come on both, or just 11.6?
Mainly on 11.6. I like better than a rope. So and then so one of the thing is for the North American market, typically we'll have use more rope that tend to have less elongation. So in Europe, it's mandatory to have that standard, that 1891, and these rope tend to be have more elongation. So that will be one of the things that the guy's going to have to work with, have more elongation in the rope. So.
But you did tell me, so you said for an open ascent, a really long ascent, it might be a little stretchy, but once you start working the tree with it.
Yeah, so once you're in the canopy and you're closer to your anchor, then you get a good balance between that elongation and that. Being able to pull yourself up. It's not a dynamic rope. It's far from that.
Yeah.
But and then once you learn to work that rope and keep your weight into the rope and not while you're doing long ascent start bouncing into your system, then because it stretches and once it's stretched out, it keeps is elongation. It's not like a bungee. It's never-ending, elongation. But so you gotta manage that, and then everything's fine with it. And it's really what I like. Most of it is really that it's easy to do knots, and it's really super to keep itself around. So because the zigzag, if you flatten your rope, it can up to a point it can start slipping just because it's flat. So
I mean, as far as the elongation of the rope goes, I don't know if there's like a holy grail, because it's all personal preference, isn't it? Like, I have a personal preference to what I like from rope as far as stretch goes. Other people like more static. Other people don't mind more bounce. So, I mean, you're always going to get people that don't like it for that reason, and people that do like it for that reason. So,
So it's a pretty middle ground. Would you agree? A pretty middle ground rope, right? It's not extremely static, and it's certainly not dynamic by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. It's not like the ecstatic that's mainly for SRS or a stationary rope.
Yeah.
And adrenaline is more a mixed rope. So this is closer to adrenaline. There's a mixed rope that can do SRS or MRS.
So I was talking to you earlier, Maurice, and just explain a little. So when the rope is manufactured, they put the label on the end of the rope and the heat shrink, and obviously the heat shrink adds a few mil. Yeah. So that's always an issue for the zigzag. Won't go over the heat shrink, but and from a manufacturer point of view, that's how it needs to be. But you were explaining how you do it on your own personal rope. That would be hard for a manufacturer to do, but
it wouldn't be sustainable for a manufacturer to do.
A good little tip.
Yeah. So what I do is I take the end of that rope. I take a piece of the core up about maybe 12 centimeters, and then what I do is I take the label, and then because the core is not into the sheet, so the sheet can be compressed up to a point that's almost with the shrink wrap onto it, the same diameter. So I put the label underneath that, and I shrink it like that, and it makes it a bit stiff, so it works like a needle, so it's really easy to go through the zigzag. So I still got my label, and I've got something to protect it over, and plus it's stiff in the end, and it's easy to put into my zigzag. So I think it works pretty good.
So then once you've done that, you're able to put the
zigzag by both ends.
Put on and take it off both ends.
Both ends, yeah.
You've still got the safety label on on the end of it.
Yeah.
You got it heat shrunk on, and because it's on the end, it's not like a safety concern. And
yeah. So I just gotta, if I knot the end of it, so let's say I want to work the other end of my rope and I want to do a fisherman knot onto it, I just gotta I know that I have a piece of the rope that's only the sheet, so I got to manage my knot differently, but still, because it's in the end, it's not a big issue. And I like it because it's really easy to put my rope through my zigzag. So because of the shrink wrap, it's really stiff as a shrink wrap. Yeah.
Nice. And you climbing on some top secret projects at the moment?
Yeah. And that's that.
Nice. Right, we'll leave it there, fellas. Much appreciated for joining me.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And
you're not that bad, it wasn't that. These questions were not.
No.
That,
I'll have to prepare some.
Some real tough ones.
Some tough ones for next time.
But you don't have to answer, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks very much, guys.
Awesome, Dan. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Thanks very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast with Rudy and Maurice. Rudy and Maurice, absolute fantastic guys, really, really good guys, and I loved hanging out with them at the expo and for the podcast. Really appreciate your time, guys, and look forward to doing that again. This podcast was sponsored by Westbur Tree Equipment, so westbur.com. They've always been a huge supporter of climbingarborist.com and everything we do, and they continue to support the podcast. So we're really grateful for Westbur getting behind us and appreciating the information that we put out there to the arborists of the world. So really appreciate their support on this, and to show their support, they're offering all the listeners of the podcast 10% off their entire order. So if you go to westbur.com/pod and use the promo code DAN, so go to westbur.com/pod, use the promo code DAN, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. This podcast was also brought to you by Jobber Business Software. Jobber is a business software that helps me run my own business, and it's been fantastic since I implemented it. It makes everything more streamlined. It makes me more organized as a person. It makes me not forget to invoice jobs like I used to do. So I can really get behind Jobber as a product. It's been absolutely fantastic for me, and it will continue to be a really great service. So the listeners of this podcast, Jobber are offering a 14-day free trial, and then if you like it and you want to sign up after the free trial, you can get 20% off your first 6 months subscription. So that's a 14-day free trial, and then 20% off your first 6 months subscription if you really enjoy it and you want to sign up. Just go to climbingarborist.com and you'll see a Jobber image across the top banner. Just click on that, and that will take you through to the link to get you that offer.